Discover the incredible journey, how 30 unseen tariffs changed lives forever. Ethan Sullivan stood in the fading light of a summer evening, the scent of freshly cut hay filling the air, as the weight of a family legacy pressed down like the thick humidity of the impending storm. He could hear the distant sound of children laughing during their annual 4th of July parade as it wove through the heart of their small Midwestern town. Crimson firecrackers erupted above, illuminating the faces of his neighbors, but all he could feel was the gnawing ache in his stomach. Their once thriving family farm was crumbling under the pressure of unseen tariffs that had stolen jobs, shattered dreams, and turned vibrant storefronts into ghostly reminders of better days. Every time he looked at his 2 young children, their innocent faces lit with joy, it twisted something deep within him. He had promised Jennifer, his beloved wife, that he would provide for them, but with each month that passed, despair crept further into their lives, fraying the close-knit community around him. The laughter and bread-sharing of potlucks grew faint, replaced by whispered fears about the future. Could their small town survive this devastation? Could he keep their family legacy alive? Fueled by fire and urgency, Ethan dove into researching the impact of those tariffs. What he uncovered shook him to his core. His community was reeling more than he ever realized, unable to voice the grim truth. This discovery ignited a spark of resolve within him. "We can't let this happen," he declared, gathering the courage to mobilize his neighbors. He dreamed of organizing a local summit, a chance for everyone to unite, to learn, to strategize for a better future, if only to end their silence. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Ethan stoked the fires of hope in the hearts of his neighbors, yet not everyone shared his vision. As attendance fluctuated leading up to the summit, the familiar faces that once exchanged smiles now bore frowns and disbelief. With each hesitant step forward, Ethan felt the tension grow. Fear crept in like a dark cloud looming over the town, whispers of dissent echoed like nails in a coffin. Just as Ethan feared failure loomed on the horizon, he was surprised by the kindness of one fellow farmer, a wizened old man named Clyde who shared a story about resilience passed down through generations. The townsfolk listened, their expressions softening. In that moment, Ethan realized strength wasn't just in the words he spoke, but in the shared tears, laughter, and unwavering resolve of the community around him. As their hearts began to swell with renewed energy, it became clear, the summit wasn't about what they had lost, but what they could gain by banding together. But doubt still hung thick in the air. Could they overcome their differences? Would their bonds hold in the face of adversity? Ethan's heart raced. Anger and hope swirled within him. If only they could reclaim their voices before the clock ran out. What would happen if they couldn't? The answer felt just beyond reach, leaving a lingering question suspended in the air. Could the ties of family and community weather this storm, or would they shatter under the weight of an uncertain future? The day of the summit dawned, heavy with promise yet laced with tension. Ethan stood outside the old town hall, frantically smoothing out the wrinkles in the banners he had hung. Themselves stronger together and our voice, our future. For days, he had volunteered his time and energy to spread the word, and now, as the sun peeked over the horizon, he could only hope it would be enough. As people began to gather, Ethan recognized many of them. Pete, a local mechanic whose business had suffered under the weight of rising costs, shuffled his feet nervously. Beside him, Martha, the owner of the bakery, adjusted her apron. Her once bustling shop had seen a sharp decline in customers. Their faces revealed the fear and uncertainty that had taken hold of the community. Yet Ethan also saw something else, glimmers of determination, if only faintly. "Ethan." Clyde's voice broke through the anxious hum surrounding them. The elder farmer approached, leaning heavily on his cane but his spirit unbroken. "We're here for you. Just remember, it starts with us." Ethan nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude. Clyde's unshakable presence felt like a warm hand on his back, pushing him forward. They made their way into the hall together, the high wooden doors creaking open to a sea of faces that reflected fear mingled with hope. Once inside, Ethan stood at the front, eyes scanning the crowd with urgency. "Thank you for coming," he began, each word rising with strenuous effort. "I know we're all struggling, but we've come to this point for a reason. These tariffs are tearing apart everything we cherish, a threat to our farms, our families, and our future." A murmur swept through the room. Ethan took a deep breath, the gravity of the moment felt palpable. "But we have a chance today. Let us start the conversation. Let us share what we're facing. Together, we can find solutions." Slowly, hands began to rise. Pete spoke up first, his words laced with passion. "I didn't plan for my business to fail, and I bet most of you didn't either. We're a part of something bigger. We need to unite our voices, demand change." Martha wiped away a tear. "I miss the days when my storefront was filled with laughter and the smell of fresh bread. We need to fight for our community, for the memories we've created here." As stories flowed, each tale built bridges of understanding. With every voice, Ethan felt a surge of strength. The room buzzed, hearts slowly knitting back together, fueled by the shared pains that brought them closer instead of tearing them apart. But then Ethan noticed a shadow in the back, a figure he hadn't expected. Terrence was a local businessman, known for his hardline views, and a man he had expected to oppose this gathering. Terrence stood, arms crossed tightly, his face unreadable. "And what if this doesn't work?" He shot back. "What if we're wasting our time?" Silence fell like a heavy curtain, the room tense with uncertainty. Ethan's heart raced. This was the moment that could steer everything. "What if it does work?" He countered, voice steady. "What if we find not just a voice, but a plan? What if we change the future for our kids? I believe we can do it, together." A ripple of applause broke out, but Ethan's gaze remained locked on Terrence. They were all on edge, riding this wave of hope, but the lingering question persisted: could they silence the naysayers, the fears, and actually create lasting change? As the applause settled, Ethan realized that this was just the beginning. The weight of the community's struggles pressed heavily, but so did the glimmer of their collective strength. What would become of the summit's vision? The answer lay in the decisions they made together next. Would they be brave enough to rise from the ashes of doubt? With resolve, Ethan pressed onward, aware that the true test was just around the corner. He needed to rally them for the battles ahead. Would their shared courage be enough to confront the dangers lurking before them? The stakes had never been higher. Ethan felt the weight of the room settle on him again, an invisible force urging him to keep going. The community was in flux, but hope flickered like a campfire, ready to roar. He raised his voice above the gentle rumble, determined to ride the wave of unity. "Let us not forget what we stand to lose. We've got children who need us to fight for their future. If we want to save our businesses, our families, we can't afford to sit here in silence." The temperature in the room shifted, embers of determination igniting. Clyde's hand shot up. "I'm proud of this town. But we've got to be smart, strategic. What's our first step? Let us not just talk, we need a plan." Ethan caught a glimpse of Terrence's face softening for a moment. Perhaps even he could feel the momentum starting to build. "Clyde has a point," Ethan agreed. "We can start by pooling our resources. What about a meeting with local officials? We'll present a united front." The crowd murmured with a mix of both enthusiasm and apprehension. There was a sense that something big was brewing. Sally, a schoolteacher from the back, stood up, her voice clear. "I've seen families struggle to make ends meet. If we could create a support network for them, food drives, workshops, anything to help, I'm in." Applause broke out, this time it was louder, filling the hall with a hopeful chorus. Ethan's heart soared. This was it. This was the community spirit rising from under the weight of despair. But then Terrence stood up again, drawing Ethan's gaze like a magnet. "Those are great ideas, but there's more to it. Tariffs don't just disappear. We need to confront the politicians, not only with words but with a presence. It's time to show them we mean business. Ethan hesitated, swallowing hard as he realized the truth in Terrence's words. They weren't just battling tariffs, they were striking at the heart of a system that had long overlooked their struggles. A deep breath filled him with resolve. You're right, Terrence. We need to rally together, get the press involved. We must show them how this affects real families, real businesses. If they see the faces behind the statistics, maybe they'll listen. With that, the room erupted again. Voices rose above one another, fueled by the exhilarating rush of purpose. The old wooden walls quaked with energy, people throwing out more ideas, sharing stories, and lighting up every corner of the hall. In that moment, Ethan caught a glimpse of his father, who had fought for what was right his entire life. This is our legacy, Ethan whispered to himself, feeling a well of inspiration rise within him. Then came a moment of silence, a brief pause when the world outside faded away. The hope was enough to fill the air, hanging thick like pollen. Yet as people cheered around him, Ethan's thoughts drifted back to Terrence. The divide between them had always felt insurmountable, and yet here they were, standing together in purpose. Was it possible for someone like Terrence to change? Ethan decided then to reach out. Stepping around the enthusiastic crowd, he approached Terrence, whose expression had softened into something almost contemplative. You've got some solid ideas. I know we don't always agree, but I want us to work together. Will you help me lead this charge? For a split second, Terrence's harsh demeanor cracked, revealing a flicker of human warmth. It faded quickly, but it was there. Let us see how far we can take this, he responded, a hint of gratitude lacing his words. Ethan's heart raced. Together, they could bridge the gap that had long separated them. Could they truly unite the community, against all odds? But then came another worrisome thought: would those old grudges rise to the surface when they faced further challenges? What would happen when the pressure mounted, and everything they built hung by a thread? With renewed determination, he turned back to the crowd, their faces beaming with hope and possibility. I think this is the beginning of something transformative. Let us show the world what we can do together. As the applause thundered around him, Ethan couldn't shake off the growing weight of uncertainty. The road might be long and filled with trials, but now they had each other. They were strong, united by shared struggles and fresh ambitions. And amidst them lingered the question, found in the crack of silence he felt surging back: could they really weather the storm together? Would this momentum carry them to a place where they could truly make a difference? The challenge was ahead, and the hour of truth was rising. As the applause began to fade, Ethan grasped the moment, a tapestry of ideas hanging in the air, waiting to be woven into something real. The energy was palpable, but beneath it, shadows of doubt flickered, threading themselves into the excitement. He couldn't ignore the questions swirling in his mind. How would they keep this fire burning? Clyde leapt to his feet, a beacon in the crowd. We should form committees. One for outreach, another for planning events. We can't just talk, we need action. Ethan nodded, his spirit buoyed. Great idea, Clyde. Sally, can you take the lead on support networks? Absolutely. She replied, her enthusiasm infectious, drawing others in. One by one, voices chimed in, each adding a piece of the puzzle. Ideas flowed like a river: fundraisers, marches, even a social media campaign to spread their message. Ethan felt a surge of pride as the consciousness of their unity grew. Still, as they rallied deeper, the specter of old rivalries loomed over him. Terrence cleared his throat, drawing every eye in the room. We need local businesses involved, everyone generating ideas and backing this. It can't just come from a few of us. If we all stand together, that sends a message. Ethan fought back a grin as he witnessed the change in Terrence. It was subtle, yet profound. Perhaps the storm ahead would transform more than just the town, perhaps it would change the very fabric of those within it. Let us gather in small groups tonight, Ethan proposed, to brainstorm specific actions. We can meet back here next week and present our ideas. Everyone okay with that? The affirmative responses washed over him like a wave. As the meeting began to wind down, a warmth enveloped Ethan. It wasn't just about the actions they'd take, it was the bonds they were building, the walls that were crumbling. The hopeful grins of mothers, the eager nods of fathers, this was their chance to redefine their path. In the weeks ahead, however, challenges would surely arise. Would all these initiatives stick? Would the splintered community stand cohesive in the face of adversity? As the crowd began to disperse, Ethan approached Terence once more. "Listen," he said, taking a steadying breath, "this is bigger than us. We both know it. We need to stay aligned if we're going to pull this off." Old grudges aside? Terence's eyes searched Ethan's, weighing the sincerity in them. "You're right, it's a long road. But if this is going to work, we need to trust each other completely." Ethan felt the gravity of that statement. What if trust wasn't just a word? What if fostering it meant not only confronting their community's external battles but also their personal histories? "Then let us do it. Trust one another and move forward together," he said, heart racing. They sealed their agreement with a firm shake of hands, an unspoken pact to believe in change not only for their town but for themselves. As they stepped away, the air was electric, charged with promise. Yet now, there were questions that bubbled beneath the surface. Would others express this same hope? How would they handle the inevitable pushback from those unwilling to adapt? With every step toward the door, Ethan felt the weight of expectation deepening. The unity forged tonight might just be the lifeline they desperately needed, but could it hold when the pressure set in? As he stepped outside, the cool night air wrapped around him. It felt different, filled with potential. And yet, the echo of doubt remained, a reminder that they were venturing into uncharted territory. Would their community rise together, or would fractures reappear amidst the pressure? In the distance, the horizon gleamed under the moonlight, inviting yet foreboding. The culmination of their efforts awaited, and they were on the brink. Just what would it take to truly unite people, to spark enduring change in the wake of economic hardship? These questions danced in Ethan's mind. The challenge was before him, ready to test everything he believed in. Little did he know, the heart of the journey was yet to be revealed, and not everyone would support their quest. Would they all be ready for what lay ahead? As Ethan walked away from the meeting, the moon cast a silvery glow on the empty streets. He paused for a moment, closing his eyes and breathing in the crisp night air. It was refreshing but laced with uncertainty. Each breath reminded him of the weight of what lay ahead. He could feel it deep in his bones. This endeavor could change everything, but the path was anything but clear. His phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him out of his thoughts. It was a message from Sally. "Excited for next week? Everyone is diving in." Her enthusiasm was infectious, but it also made him reflect on the challenges they'd face. Doubts began to creep in again. Were they really ready to shoulder the burden of revitalizing their community? Before he could dwell too long on his worries, Ethan remembered the look on Clyde's face when he had jumped up to suggest forming committees. That spirit of unity was something powerful. But what if it didn't last? He shook his head, trying to knock the thoughts away as he made his way home. As he turned onto his street, the familiar sight of his neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, tending to her flower beds caught his eye. She always had a smile for everyone, a warmth that seemed to radiate from her. Today, her smile was replaced with a frown. He approached cautiously. "Everything okay, Mrs. Jensen?" "Oh, Ethan," she sighed, wiping dirt from her hands. "I just saw the news about the budget cuts. It's going to hit us hard." He felt a pit form in his stomach. It wasn't just numbers on paper, it was real people, real families. "We're working on something that could help," he stuttered, unsure of what else to say. "Just be careful, dear. Change is hard, and not everyone wants it." Her words lingered long after he left her yard. It was a simple warning, but one that felt heavy. Change was a double-edged sword, and Mrs. Jensen wasn't the only one who would fear it. Ethan knew there would be resistance, and that fear could fracture the hard-won unity they had just begun to forge. He plopped down on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Images from the meeting flashed through his mind, the excitement, the camaraderie, but also the doubts. What if those hopes shattered under the weight of opposition? He recalled Terrence's words about trust, thinking about the old rivalries still lurking in the shadows. Could a fragile bond withstand the inevitable storms? His heart raced at the possibilities and pitfalls that lay before him. Just then, a soft knock on his door broke the silence. It was his younger sister, Mia, her eyes bright with curiosity. "You're home late. What's happening in town?" Ethan chuckled lightly, grateful for her innocence. "It's a lot, Mia. We're trying to bring everyone together, make things better here." "Like superheroes?" she asked, tilting her head adorably. "Something like that," he replied, a smile creeping onto his face despite himself. But as Mia prattled on about her day, reality crept back in. Superheroes needed more than just good intentions and enthusiasm. They required faith in each other and community. Could they truly emerge as champions for their town? As Mia launched into a story, Ethan realized he needed to act, not just for his own hopes but for everyone around him. He couldn't let fear hold him back. But who could he trust? The stakes felt high, and not just for him. What happened next? Mia asked, her eager expression drawing him back to her story. "Let us see what happens when you decide to change the world." Ethan murmured under his breath, realizing this journey was just beginning. But with every step forward, would it be enough? Would there be casualties along the way? He felt the pressure of those questions settle over him, heavy like the night sky outside. Ethan knew then, this was no simple undertaking. The real battle was just starting, and the next meeting would prove pivotal. He would have to dig deep. Would his community rise to the occasion or crumble under the weight of fear? With resolve settling in his heart, he took a deep breath. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. He needed a plan. As he turned off the light, a thought echoed in his mind. Would everyone be ready to take that leap of faith? The question lingered, hanging like the moon in the night sky. What awaited them in the day to come, and would they be prepared to meet it head-on? Ethan awoke to the golden rays of dawn streaming through his window, casting a warm glow across his room. It felt like the world was offering him a fresh start, a chance to shake off the shadows of doubt that had clouded his mind the night before. He stretched, taking a deep breath that filled his lungs with hope and determination. Today was not just a day, it was the day he needed to make things happen. After a quick breakfast, Ethan grabbed his notebook, a simple collection of blank pages that had become a canvas for his thoughts, plans, and ideas. He began jotting down a list of tasks, trying to capture the excitement bubbling within him. He wanted to gather everyone's stories, to find out what people loved about their town and what they wished could change. It was a way to involve everyone from the start, to transform the fears into opportunities. With each stroke of his pen, his vision became clearer. His phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Clyde. "Can we meet earlier today? Got some ideas to share." A smile crept onto his face. The unity he had sensed at the last meeting seemed to be building in unexpected ways. As he stepped outside, he felt the crisp morning air on his skin. The sun was shining brightly, and the town looked alive. Children were laughing as they rode bicycles by, and neighbors waved at each other, the small interactions that helped weave the fabric of their community. With renewed energy, he made his way to the community center. Inside, Clyde was already waiting, animatedly pacing back and forth. "Ethan, I've been thinking, what if we host a town hall meeting where everyone can share their views? We could build committees right there." "Exactly. People need to feel included," Ethan replied, feeling their shared energy pulse through the room. They spent the next hour brainstorming and planning, discussing ways to gather input from every corner of the community. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Sally rushed in, her enthusiasm spilling out. "I heard you guys were planning something big. Can I help? I know a lot of folks who are fired up about this." They quickly began collaborating, marking ideas on a whiteboard, the vision of a town hall taking shape with every new suggestion. But as they buzzed with excitement, Ethan felt a familiar knot tighten in his chest. How would they convince everyone to join? Not everyone shared their vision. What about the skeptics who would prefer to keep things the way they were? Fear, resistance, it all loomed in the back of his mind. Clyde interrupted his thoughts. Listen, if we're going to do this, we need to tackle that fear head-on. Maybe we could have a little meet and greet first, just to introduce ourselves and let people know it's safe to speak. Great idea. Let us make it personal, Ethan replied, feeling a spark of hope. This was exactly the plan they needed, breaking down barriers with kindness and openness. They rallied together, gathering ideas from others who wandered in. Mia even dropped by after school, excitedly suggesting games and refreshments to create a welcoming atmosphere. As plans took shape, a sense of unity started to grow. Ethan realized they were not just organizing a meeting, they were kindling connections, reaching out to every bit of humanity that made their town special. But amidst the excitement, he couldn't shake the lingering doubt. Would the fearsome importance of this gathering outweigh the divides that still lay among them? The uncertainty haunted him. Ethan, are you with us? Clyde broke his concentration, his voice pulling him back. Yeah, just thinking, are we really ready for this? Sally, catching on, added, we can't let fear dictate our next steps. We have to show them how much we care. Ethan nodded. They were all on this journey together. The strength of their unity could be their greatest weapon against the fear of change. As preparations continued, excitement pulsed in the air, but so did an undercurrent of tension. The day would come when they would stand together in front of their community, ready to take that leap of faith. Or watch it crumble. Would their efforts be enough to bridge the distance among their neighbors? And when the moment of truth arrived, would their hearts be willing to face whatever came next? With these questions echoing in his mind, Ethan felt a shift within himself, a stirring of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, today was the beginning of something truly transformative. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm light over the community center as Ethan, Sally, and Clyde gathered with a few others. The excitement was palpable, but so was the hesitation. People were trickling in, their faces a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Ethan's heart raced as he looked around the room. This was at the moment they had been preparing for. But what if it didn't go as planned? He took a breath, pushing the doubt aside. Okay, everybody. He called, raising his hands to get their attention. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Today is about us, our town, our voices. The chatter quieted down, and the group turned towards him. Clyde stepped up beside him, his expression earnest. This isn't just a meeting. It's a chance for each one of you to share what matters most to you. We want your dreams for our community. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ethan felt the weight of every gaze, each one layered with hope and distrust. He glanced at Sally, whose encouraging smile pushed him forward. Think about what you want to see change. A park? More events? Or just a place where everyone knows each other's names? The silence lingered for a moment, thick and heavy. Then a hand shot up, a familiar face from the town, Mr. Collins. He was known for his gruff demeanor, often skeptical of new ideas. And what if nobody cares? What if this goes nowhere? Ethan's throat tightened. I get that, he said, keeping his voice steady. Change can be terrifying. But can we start by sharing our stories? Let us create a space where every voice is heard, even if it's a little scary. A woman named Carol added, I've lived here all my life, and we've tried other things. I just don't want to waste my time if no one else shows up. That's why we're here. Clyde's voice rose with passion. We won't know until we try. We might not have all the right answers today, but we have each other. And just like that, the room started to shift. People began talking softly among themselves, sharing their concerns and hopes. Ethan could feel the energy change, peppered with hopeful laughter as they recalled fond memories of the town. One by one, hands began to rise, the unease being replaced with willingness. Sally stepped in, guiding the discussions, making sure everyone had a chance to voice their thoughts. Ethan marveled at how their collective energy stirred something alive and hopeful within him. The room began to feel like a tapestry of shared dreams. As the group started forming smaller circles, discussing ideas like a community garden and seasonal markets, Ethan felt a rush of gratitude. These connections, these simple moments brought together by a shared purpose, were more than he ever expected. But as the excitement built, a shadow loomed over the gathering. The inevitable question arose again, echoing in his mind. Would this unity last beyond the meeting? Would they be able to confront the critics after they left? All right, Ethan finally said when a lull in conversation came. Let us take a moment to write down our top 3 ideas. We'll display them for everyone to see, and from there we can pick how to move forward. As pens scratched against paper, optimism filled the air. Yet lingering doubt tugged at his heart. Could he truly lead this group into something lasting and meaningful? Hey, Ethan. Clyde whispered, sensing his tension. Whatever happens next, we're all in this together. Ethan nodded, appreciating his friend's reassurance. Yeah, I want it to mean something. Then let us make it happen. With renewed determination, they shared the ideas penned down. Yet somewhere in the back of his mind, a question nagged at him. Could they face the challenges ahead without losing the newfound trust they built today? As they moved forward with energy and hope, a thought flickered: what if unheeded fears could become their greatest teachers? Ethan looked around. This was only the beginning. Exciting and terrifying. What would the next steps reveal, and who else would join them on this journey? He couldn't help but wonder. As the meeting progressed, Ethan felt a surge of enthusiasm ripple through the room. Ideas poured forth, filling the air with a sweetness that felt almost like spring. Garden plots, potluck dinners, art festivals, each suggestion a thread woven into the fabric of their community's future. The skepticism that had hung over them began to lift, replaced by something brighter and more vibrant. Sally stood at the whiteboard, mapping their ideas as they shouted them out enthusiastically. A farmer's market? Yes. And what about a book exchange corner? Neighborhood cleanups? The board quickly filled with scribbles, a chaotic but beautiful representation of their hopes. Ethan's heart swelled. This was more than just a gathering, it was the birth of something new. And yet, as elation coursed through him, he couldn't shake the undercurrent of worry. He glanced at Mr. Collins, who had been quieter now but still wore a skeptical look. What about funding these ideas? The older man interjected, crossing his arms. Good intentions don't pay for benches or flowers. Ethan paused. The question hit hard. It was one thing to dream, another to make those dreams tangible. But he knew he had to respond. You're right. We have to think about resources. But perhaps we can look into grants or even fundraisers. If we make this a community effort, we can find ways to support it together. Some nodded, others raised eyebrows, unsure. But then a young voice piped up from the back. What if we each pitched in a little bit, like a community fund? It was Emma, the high school junior who had shown interest in getting involved. Her enthusiasm was contagious. Yes! Shouted Clyde. That could work. Everyone contributing what they can. $1 or 10. It all adds up. Ethan watched as more hands flew up. Ideas were spinning, building momentum, like a roller coaster climbing its first hill. Would they really find a way to support each other? As conversations buzzed, Ethan's thoughts wandered. He remembered the isolation he felt in recent years, drifting away from his neighbors. The fear of speaking out, of stepping outside his comfort zone. But today was different. Today, they were uniting in a cause bigger than any individual fear. Yet deep down, a voice whispered, what if it crumbled? What if all this excitement was just a fleeting moment? Let us take a break, Sally announced suddenly, noticing the palpable tension in the room. Grab some refreshments, and we'll meet in 15. Ethan watched as people filed out, laughter echoing softly among the walls. He needed this break. He stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the warm air. Clyde joined him, leaning against the wall. Hey, you did good in there. Really? Maybe, Ethan replied, gazing at the horizon. But I don't want to fail them. I want this to mean something. Clyde clapped a hand on his shoulder. You won, T. Just remember what brought everyone here in the first place, the desire for connection. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion at the entrance. A group of locals strolled in, faces lit with energy but uncertainty clouding their eyes. Ethan recognized them, those who often stood on the sidelines, skeptics of change. Maybe this time, he thought, feeling a spark of hope. What if they were ready to join in? Ethan straightened up, heart racing again. Hey! He called out, extending his arms as if to welcome them into warmth. We'd love to hear your ideas. The group hesitated, doubt evident in their expressions. But a flicker of interest sparked among them. As the seconds dripped into silence, Ethan realized they stood at a crossroads, trapped the fear or embrace the possibility. The energy in the air twisted, electric. Would they step into this space of vulnerability together? Right then, Ethan knew they had a choice to make, and every moment felt weighty with potential. But in the depth of his heart, a whisper urged him on. What if? What if they could turn this into something real, and just keep building on those first shaky steps? Just as uncertainty loomed, he wondered, would they see the potential waiting in front of them, or would this opportunity slip away? Ethan's heart raced as he held his breath, watching the group before him. What if they said no? What if they laughed at their ideas, their dreams? But he couldn't dwell on those thoughts. This was a moment to seize, a chance to break barriers. Come on in. He encouraged, stepping forward. We're brainstorming ideas to revitalize our neighborhood. Your voice matters. The warmth in his tone seemed to reach them, pulling one or two members closer. A woman with a determined look finally spoke. We've heard about a few ideas, but it's hard to trust. We've seen things start before and then fizzle out. The doubt in her voice resonated, echoing the fears others held. Yeah, another chimed in, arms crossed tightly. What makes this different? Ethan felt a rush of adrenaline. This was the challenge he'd been waiting for. Because this time, it's not just about a few people pushing for change. It's about all of us. Each of us has something to contribute. Your thoughts, your energy, your investment, however small. It can lead to something powerful. He noticed a small, hopeful smile spreading on Emma's face. Perhaps it was contagious because others began to nod slowly. He pressed on, knowing he had to dig deeper. Just think about it. We could create something beautiful together. A place where kids can play, where seniors can gather, where everyone feels at home. A pause settled over the group as they exchanged glances. Ethan held his breath, the moment thick with possibility. Was he inspiring them? The woman spoke again, more thoughtfully this time. If we say yes, where do we start? I mean, really. Let us focus on one thing, Ethan suggested, his pulse quickening with urgency. Let us start with the farmer's market. Imagine fresh produce, workshops, local crafts. It can become a hub for all of us, a celebration of who we are as a community. Right. Clyde jumped in. And everyone can pitch in. We could have a plan where local vendors get a spot, and we can rotate too, give everyone a shot. If we all put in a little work, it can be something amazing. Hope hung in the air, and one by one, the skeptics began to share their thoughts. The tension melted away, replaced by ideas that built upon one another. Voices rose in excitement, laughter mingled with plans for structuring the market. Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. This was real. They were transcending fear, uniting with purpose. But amidst the joy, a flicker of doubt crept back in. What if it was too good to be true? Could they maintain this momentum? The balance felt precarious, like standing on the edge of a high wire. As the conversations swirled around him, he gazed at the faces of his neighbors, those who had once seemed strangers. Now, they were allies, partners in a mission. Sally stood nearby, her eyes bright with determination. Let us not just talk. We'll create a timeline, set goals. We'll hold each other accountable, she said, her voice steady. Ethan's heart raced again, but this time it was a thrill of hope, not fear. He couldn't shake the realization that they were still fragile. They needed to build trust as much as they needed resources. Just then, a voice rose above the rest. And what if we reach out to the local news? Get them interested? They could help us get more people involved. Great idea. Clyde shouted, and soon the room erupted with excited conversation about how to amplify their plans. Yet, as he smiled at their energy, Ethan felt a knot in his stomach. Would they truly commit? Could this all work out? Despite the excitement swirling around him, he couldn't help but feel the shadow of uncertainty lurking nearby. He took a breath, reminding himself to stay grounded. All he could do was believe in this group, in their potential. And as the discussions continued to grow louder, one thought rang out in his mind: would they be able to transform aspirations into tangible change? Or were they simply setting themselves up for heartbreak? The moment felt electric, charged with energy and anticipation. Something big was looming on the horizon, and Ethan was determined to see it through. But his heart still murmured with questions. What if trust was the hardest part to earn? As the weeks flew by, the initial excitement surrounding the farmers' market blossomed into a living, breathing entity. It had transformed from mere discussions in a crowded community center to a tangible plan that pulsed with energy and anticipation. Every Saturday, town members gathered to connect, share, and dream together. The aroma of freshly baked goods mingled with homemade preserves, while children giggled and played in the nearby park. Ethan stood behind the table he'd set up, heart swelling with pride as he handed out flyers and directed traffic, welcoming new faces with open arms. But as every rose has its thorns, so too did their newfound unity face challenges. In the midst of this blossoming, the shadows of dissent lingered just outside the light. Terrence, the businessman who had previously joined forces with Ethan, grew restive as skepticism poured in from his old faction. They didn't share the same enthusiasm and began to question the market's efficacy, suggesting it was merely a social gathering with no substance. Terrence tried to mediate, but the friction sparked. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a confrontational group of skeptics convened outside the community center, voices raised in frustrated disagreement echoing through the doors. It's just a waste of resources. One shouted, arms flailing in exasperation. A farmer's market won't save our town. Ethan felt his heart drop. Not again, he thought, pressing his palms against the table in front of him. How did they reach the naysayers? How could he convince them that seeds planted today could grow into something sustainable for tomorrow? Sensing the crowd shift, he stepped outside, butterflies swirling in his stomach. This was a moment of truth. He approached the group, taking a steadying breath. I get your concerns, truly. But I've seen so many lives change through this. The energy, the support, it's a beacon of hope in the community. Can we talk about what's bothering you? The skeptics paused, assessing him with cautious eyes. Terrence, standing beside Ethan, nodded in agreement, his normally rigid stance softened in solidarity with the community that needed him now more than ever. We all want answers. But let us chat. We might find common ground, he said, an olive branch in the air between opposing forces. It wasn't about persuading them, it was about listening. Ethan gathered their sentiments, breathing hard into their frustrations. This is our town, we built it together, and we can rebuild it too. Let's brainstorm, together. As they spoke, voices that were once divided began to shake hands with understanding. Ideas blossomed from pockets of doubt like wildflowers in spring. Ethan saw the tension begin to ebb as people shared worries about proceeds and aiming for a bigger vision. What if we included local talent? Workshops? Art displays? Someone suggested. Hope bloomed in the air, and a few hard lines softened as skepticism turned toward eager curiosity. In that embrace of vulnerability, a new path began to unfold. Ethan felt heavier weights lift from his shoulders, heart pumping with renewed courage. This moment of connection, raw and real, was everything they needed. As voices melded together in the fading warmth of the day, Ethan had visions of what lay beyond the horizon. Days turned into weeks, and with the farmer's market well on its way to being a success, a humble yet poignant sense of pride surged. The town began to transform. Green began to flourish where concrete once stood in despair, as collaborative murals decorated the once dreary walls of the old businesses. Ethan stood back one afternoon in the park, with his children by his side, when Clyde approached him with a wide smile. "Look at what we've done. This is incredible." At that moment, glimmers of sun peeked through the trees, casting a golden glow on laughing families and enthusiastic vendors. And yet, amidst the joy, worry gnawed again at Ethan's insides. He knew sustaining their momentum would require more than good intentions. Success and opposition danced closely together, entwined in an intricate balance. How could they ensure the gathering stayed alive, thriving? As if echoing his thoughts, Terrence suddenly appeared beside him. "You know, we may need to set up a committee focusing on the future. Let's keep this alive through the years," he proposed, confidence rippling from him. "What a great idea, Terrence. We could instate a rotating committee, engage new and old faces, and ensure continuity," Ethan chirped, the excitement building within him once more. But as they dove into discussions, the familial energy around them reminded him of how fragile unity could be, how easily hope could turn into despair if neglect and misunderstanding turned allies into adversaries once more. That night, he lay awake, thoughts swirling about the precarious nature of their success. His phone buzzed with emails from members wanting to contribute ideas. Yet he could not quell the nagging feeling. Could this spark really ignite lasting change? As he stared up at the stars twinkling in the velvety black sky, a single thought prevailed, loud and clear. "For my kids, for their future, I'll fight to keep this flame burning." The resolve settled in like a solid, comforting blanket. Ethan rose the next morning inspired and resolute. "This is our moment." He gathered everyone together, listening, collaborating, preparing to tackle the next stages, ensuring every voice continued to be heard. As momentum rolled on, while challenges still lay ahead, the town breathed life anew. Little by little, they wove connections, reparative stitches binding together the fabric of their community. The horizon glimmered with potential, a beautiful tapestry of trust, growth, and community on a journey toward resilience. And just before he stepped onto the path ahead, he remembered the laughter, the support, and the light that fanned outwards, all born from the urgency to unite. This little town held not just echoes of the past, but the heartbeat of a promising future. Now, more than ever, Ethan felt it was clear, they could weather the storms together, and emerge with their heads held high. That spark had taken flame, they were set to rise. Now, as you're basking in the warmth of this uplifting tale, it's your turn to ignite something incredible. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure you stay part of this journey. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this inspiring conclusion. And do not wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformational journey. Only true fans can grasp the power of community and support.